Welcome back to Pickles. Welcome, new folks. Got a bunch of new folks on Spotify. Thank you. Welcome. Gang, you did great work this week with the pickles you sent in. For folks who are new, trying to figure this thing out, here's what happens. Every week, I reach in to the sack, digital sack, of prompts you send in. These are situations where you need some help, some spin doctoring to get your way out of it. And together, I like to think we apply some lubricant of verbiage to help you slip your way out. So again, incredible work this week. Got two really good ones, truly awkward situations that do need a little bit of lubricant to get your way out of. Let's do the first one. I picked this one out actually because the prompt take place in a conference, and I was at a conference recently. I was at the Arena Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, which is like a massive meeting of campaign operatives, all sorts of organizations, get out the vote organizations, local on the ground organizations. Great work, amazing stuff. Met tons of people. Like to think that I inspired, not a few, quite a few people actually. Do you know what? I don't think I was actually a major influence on the conference at large. I know this because they took a group photo at the end, and I was one of the first people they pointed to. They're like, you, on stage center. And I thought, finally, a recognition of my place in this meeting. And they put me right in the center. They had me hold up a sign. And then they proceeded to place 9 rows of people in front of me. So in the final photo, and you can see this, it's on Instagram, all that's left of me is just the reflection off my head, which, they're calling the star of democracy. So, all right, here's the pickle. It's a good one. Thank you, whoever sent this in. I was at a conference and someone came up to me, excited to see me, but I had no idea who they were and they weren't wearing their lanyard. Side note, that's illegal. You need to wear the lanyard at all times. It must have been obvious because they said out loud, "I'm going to wait to see if you recognize me." Mortifying. What do you say? You're right. We need to take a moment, though, and think about what's going on here, right? This classic situation where you're going about your business. Someone comes up to you, and they're expecting you to recognize them, and you don't. But why is the embarrassment and the shame on you in this situation, right? Why is it always on the person who can't remember? I think it's because we culturally believe that if you don't remember someone, that is a sign that you are, stuck up, you're selfish, you don't notice or pay attention to the people around you, or you think you're so important, or worse, you can't tell people apart. Those are all things that are bad, obviously. Very much in the culture, we expect ourselves to have to remember other people. Here's the thing, let's just flip it around, right? How narcissistic do you have to be like, you know what? There are 8 billion people on the planet, and yet somehow I am so notable that everyone who meets me will instantly remember me. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous, right? Do you really think that your conversation is so sparkling, your acquaintance is so memorable, that after just meeting you or sitting in front of you in social studies, someone's going to go home and journal about you? Put a note on their fridge saying, "Remember forever, Tanya Whitcomb told funny anecdote about putting medication on dog's paw." I know some of you, by the way, hear that and you're like, "Oh my gosh, is the dog okay?" I made up the dog. And yeah, the dog's okay. Totally fine. Tanya, totally boring. But that's just how it is, right? That's how it is. And I say this as someone who is frequently mistaken for other people. It just happens all the time, right? One of the most common things is that people will think that my name is Ari. And this actually happened last week. I was hosting a show, which means, by the way, when you're hosting a show, like I'm on stage for a protracted amount of time. Like you can see who I am. I say my name. The name's in the program. I'm not expecting you to read the program, but just so you'd know, okay? Intermission, I'm walking around. Guy comes up to me and goes, "Oh, hey, Ari, nice to see you." So what is happening there, right? I see 3 distinct possibilities. One, he did not know I was on stage for an hour beforehand. He was in the audience, I'm pretty sure. And he just thought I was another guy that he knows, Ari. Okay. Or he heard the name Amir and thought, do you know what? Ari, close enough. And yeah, it does have three of the letters, but I feel like they're in a different order and it's a different feel, right? Amir and Mario share four letters. They're not easily confused. Or, and this is another possibility we have to entertain, he assumed that I had some deep connection. Maybe he was making a comparison to Ari Gold, Jeremy Piven's character in Entourage. Of the three, I want it to be three. Not gonna lie, I want it to be three. I would like that. Point being, there is a lot of burden on us to have to remember other people, and maybe we should flip that around. Maybe we should say, hey, you know what? If you want to be remembered, you have to be notable, be extraordinary. And then when you're in a situation like at the conference, someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, do you recognize me? Maybe what you can do is actually just make something up. It would be memorable, right? And put it on them. They've got to deal with it now. You'd be like, oh, Annette, right? You were testing cigarettes on spider monkeys. Did the FDA ever catch up with you? What'd you say about the FDA? Stands for flippin' dumbasses, right? But you didn't say flippin'. Or Justin Marks, you son of a gun. So, you make Grand Wizard yet? You know, some people have a plantation wedding and regret it. You were like, I could get used to this. And when they go, oh, no, you have me confused with someone else, you say, no, it's all right. Listen, you can still do these things. Believe in yourself. There's time, and I'm with you. I don't know why people are so arrogant as to think that they are memorable, right? Why? Think about this. For comparison's sake, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they go to the extra effort of wearing different colored masks. Even though if you encountered a Ninja Turtle, already off the bat without the masks, you have a 25% chance of figuring out which one's which, okay? Which is very good odds. If you add the weaponry on top of that, you could narrow it down to exactly who's who. But no, they go further with the colored masks. Why? For us. To make it clear for us. And I say, if a mutant turtle is willing to go the extra mile to be memorable, you know, where does a guy who lived on the same floor as you in your dorm get off thinking you're going to remember him? You're not. People should be more like the turtles. Also, the Marx Brothers. You ever see a picture of the Marx Brothers at a costume? They look essentially identical. But no, they gave themselves nicknames. They wore very different costumes. Why? For us. And it was nice. It's nice. That's a good pickle, by the way. Excellent. Keep them coming. By the way, a little update from last week. We talked about how you can sustain a conversation that you have no interest in or don't know really what's going on in. And we talked about how it's actually very regional. In the Midwest, the phrase, there you go, can get you through any barbecue. But on the East Coast, you've got to use, you gotta be kidding me. That's your conversation sustainer. Someone wrote in saying, oh, but what about the West Coast? And great, that's a great question for sure. And that is the answer. For sure. It's sort of one word, for sure. It doesn't really mean yes. It doesn't mean no. It doesn't mean anything in particular. It just means I am on the side of the conversation. For sure. Try it. My Californian friends, try it and prove me wrong. Because I'm not wrong. Next pickle. Again, another awkward situation. How do you gracefully get out of this situation? You're at a store and a stranger walks up and starts talking to you like you work there. I know some people just say, I'm sorry, I don't work here, but that seems embarrassing for everybody. Absolutely. I am completely with you. If you are the kind of person that has the kind of composure and strength to say, I'm sorry, I don't work here, you are stronger than me. I know that may seem contradictory from what I just said before. This is a very different situation Very, very different situation. Because when someone assumes that you work in a place, it's not because they think you're the CFO, right? They're not going to be like, hey, I just saw the Q3 projections and I really appreciate the work you're doing on the dividend. They've made an assumption about where you are in the pecking order of things. And, often identity is wrapped up into that. To correct them, you're essentially confronting them about that. It's embarrassing for all sides. And my technique in this situation is never to correct them. It's to go along with it as long as I can without technically lying. It's the best thing you can do. The way I think of it is what I'm really saying in that moment is, you know what? We are both in an awkward situation. Take my hand. I will guide us out. You will have plausible deniability, and so will I. We both got out of this thing with graces and dignity intact. So I used to have this, I used to travel in this polyester navy blue suit. It's incredible. It didn't wrinkle. You could throw it in the washing machine. I was at London Heathrow standing under the departures board, studying it. Navy blue suit, white shirt, red tie, a bit like this. And a woman comes up to me with her bags, exasperation, and asks me where something is. And it wasn't like a, hey, fellow passenger, any inkling. It was like a, you people need to get your act together kind of question. And I realized in that second, just the way she was looking at me, that some combination of my suit and where I was standing and, maybe general looks. This is London Heathrow. If you've been there, you'd know I could possibly be an employee. Not by hearing me, but just general demeanor. She thought I worked there. And I said what I have to say in those situations. I said, I think that thing is actually one terminal over. It's in Terminal 2. And she goes, well, it says right here it's in Terminal 3. And I said, well, sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. And then I walked away. Which I know seems rude, but you have to understand, in my experience, British people expect traveling experiences to be frustrating, disappointing, and dysfunctional. And so when you reinforce that, when you confirm that expectation, yes, it's unpleasant, but in some ways, it's very gratifying that you've confirmed their expectations. And that is, in its way, a beautiful thing. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I woke up early and I went to a compost farm to get compost for my garden. And again, early in the morning, the place opens at 7 a.m. I was there a little after. Absolutely desolate. No one's around. Okay. And I park my car and then I walk over a ways to a barn and just wait. And eventually a guy in a digger just rumbles up and from the digger shouts to me. I shout what I needed and he just rumbles away around a corner. So I'm left just standing there in the early spring morning, shivering a little just in front of the barn. And another pickup comes up. Guy gets out, gray-haired guy, camouflage jacket, camouflage ball cap. On it, it says Trump, which I took to be a good sign because it shows you that he only holds those political beliefs because he wants to blend in. It's very sweet. He comes up to me. He goes, morning. I say, morning. And he goes, so how does this work? Do I pay you? And this is the first time in my life anyone has ever thought I worked on a farm. This is the first time I've been mistaken for a horny-handed son of the soil. And it feels pretty good. Also, a little stressful. I don't know how much I can keep this up. I don't know. I know the more I talk, the less I'm gonna be able to maintain this. So I point to where the digger was, and I go, oh, Tim will come back. He'll sort you out. And then I just go back to looking off into the piles of brush and dirt. But then he goes, I talked to a woman on the phone. And I go, oh, that's June. June will sort you out too. June can sort you out. Then I pause and I'm like, do you know June? And he goes, no. And I don't know why I asked, because of course I know he doesn't know June for two reasons. One, He said the woman on the phone, so he doesn't know who that is. And two, I just made June up. June doesn't exist. There's no reason why he would know someone who just came into being a few seconds before. So he didn't know June. But I said, don't worry. It's going to be fine. June will sort you out. Mercifully, the digger rumbles back. He turns because it's very, very noisy and very interesting operation. This just naturally happens. If you're in a scene with no digger, digger appears. You're going to turn and look. I take that opportunity to hightail it to my car. I get out of there. Yes, I got the compost in the end. Don't worry about that. But more importantly, for a brief moment, I got to be a farmhand. And that's special. That is very, very special. Okay, I think that's it for pickles in this episode. I am going fly fishing next few days. And I don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is in the cabin. However, Pickles, remember, is a joint production by me and you because I need your pickles to make this thing happen. So if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can put a comment in the comments with your pickle, or you can email me. Address is in the description of this podcast episode or the video. So send me something. Give me something to think about when I'm up in that cabin looking for, I don't know, flies or fish. Either will do. Either will count as success. This has been Pickles.